versus Amadeus Patrico Clark, file number 23-03550. Council appearance.
Assistant Prosecutor James Petrosky on behalf of the people. Aaron Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Clark.
Yes, Clark.
How are you, sir?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Today, the date and the time set for a preliminary examination, and we are ready to proceed, correct?
That is correct, Judge.
Any preliminary matters before we call witnesses?
Nothing from the people. We would just ask that the rule of sequestration be approved.
Sequestration is granted. How many witnesses is people calling?
I have 2 witnesses subpoenaed, but I anticipate I'll only need to call 1.
Both officers?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sequestration is granted. You can call your first witness.
Thank you. And the people call Trooper Luke Schaefer.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
I do.
Thank you. You can have a seat. You can state your first and last name and spell both, Trooper.
Trooper Luke Schaefer, LUKESHAFER.
You can proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Trooper Schaefer. Where do you work?
With Mission Safe Police.
And what's your job title?
I'm currently a trooper assigned to the Community Partnership.
And what are your duties?
So we focus on violent crimes in the area of Lansing, some out county stuff, but mostly Lansing.
Were you working November 25th, 2023?
I was.
And where were you located?
I was partnered up with Trooper Harshman at the time, so I was in passenger seat.
And where, or I guess what were you doing on that day?
So at the time of the stop, we were sitting across from the One Stop Party Store on Chavez. We were on the south side of the road. We were just doing surveillance on the party store.
Okay. And is that in Lansing?
Yes.
Hingham County?
Yes.
State of Michigan?
Yes.
Great. And while you were parked there, did you observe anything notable?
Yes. So we observed the subject, the defendant walking into the store. But we thought he had a gun at that time. When he came out, at the time he walked in, he had a hand in his pocket. At the time he came out, he had bags in his hand. So there was a outline of what we believed was a firearm at that time. So we continued surveillance in the car.
And where was the, you said the outline of the suspected firearm?
Yep. So it was in one of his pockets.
Okay. On like upper body, lower body?
Yep. Upper body.
Upper body? What did he do after he exited the store?
He went to a vehicle.
And what did he do after getting in the vehicle?
So he left out of the parking lot. As he was leaving the parking lot, he kept a stop, leaving a private drive. So that's when we pulled out of where we were sitting, attempted to catch up to him. Took us a minute because we're kind of zigzagging through the state streets at that given point in time. Once we caught up to the vehicle, we initiated a traffic stop.
How did you initiate the traffic stop?
With our emergency lights, and I don't think it was sirens, but I think just the other lights.
When you initiated the stop, did the vehicle stop for you?
Yes.
And did you approach the vehicle?
Yes, I approached the passenger side for Harsh and approached the driver's side and made contact with the driver.
It was how many people were in the vehicle?
Just one.
And that was the person you had seen exit the convenience store?
Yes.
And were you able to see his face?
Yes. When I was at the passenger side.
Oh, just generally.
Yes.
Okay. And would you recognize him if you saw him today?
Yes.
Is he present in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you describe where he's located in article of his clothing?
At the table, and it's a white collared shirt.
Let the record reflect that Trooper Schaefer has identified the defendant.
Any objection to identification?
No objection, Judge.
Identification is noted.
So when you spoke to the defendant of the vehicle, did you ask him any questions?
So I was on the passenger side.
Oh,
My
yeah.
duties are kind of just like seeing security, keep an eye out on the vehicle, what's going on in the vehicle while Trooper Hirschman makes contact. So I don't know how their conversation went.
Okay. At some point during the stop, was the defendant detained?
Yes, so Trooper Hirschman had him exit the vehicle. He handcuffed him at that time and had him come around to the back of the vehicle.
And why did he do that?
Based off the observations of the firearm at that time, I don't know if there's more going on. If he didn't have a license or something, I don't know. We just did it for the firearm. It's just safety for us and for the subject at that time.
Okay. And what did you do next?
So when I went towards the vehicle, the door was open. I utilized my flashlight, looked in. Underneath the seat, there was a blue and orange scale with a metal like tray on it. On that tray, there's a white powdery residue, which, based off my training experience, is either methamphetamine, cocaine, crack, stuff like
Okay. And did you conduct a search of the vehicle?
that. Yes, so I did a probable cause search based off the outline of the firearm that we saw, and the scale with the white powder.
Did you locate anything notable?
Yes, so the scale was taken out of the car, just photo was taken, not seized, and then in the center console, there was a firearm that was sold.
Can you describe the firearm?
It was black with magazine in it, rounds in the mag, kind of like a extender on the bottom.
And then do you know if the defendant was asked if he had a CPL?
I don't recall that. That would be Trooper Hirschman that did all the questioning.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. So Trooper Schaefer, how long were you conducting surveillance at the, is it the one stop?
Yes, the party store.
Okay, how long were you conducting surveillance at that one stop that day?
Before that time of stop, I can't tell you exactly. We kind of bounced around party stores. We sat at the Royal, Sunoco, stuff like that. So sometimes we sit there for 10 minutes before we see something. Sometimes we sit there for 3 hours.
And so you stated that you saw Mr. Clark walking into the store with what you thought could be a firearm. Can you describe what exactly made you think that?
So we have training, based off our training experience, we kind of read body language characteristics, stuff like that. So when a subject's coming into a store or leaving a store and they have their hand in their pocket, it's what we call like the 90-degree angle for their arm. It's holding an object. So it just kind of piques our interest at that given point in time. That's just something that, you know, we kind of add into everything that we take into consideration. When he exited the store, he had bags in his hands at that time. The outline of a firearm was pretty obvious at that given point in time. The gun was kind of leaning forward, so you can kind of see where the grip and the mag go. That's the part that was leaning forward. And then you can see there's a long strip kind of at the bottom where the gun would be.
Okay, and what pockets was this? Was it like a hoodie, pants?
I would have to look at the report to refresh my memory.
Okay. We
We deal with so many, just a team we're a part of.
Would looking at that report refresh your recollection?
Yes, if it's in there.
Judge, if I may approach the witness?
Yes.
Is this the report that you wrote regarding the incident?
I believe this one is Trooper Harshman's on the secondary on that, which the observations may be in this one. Scroll up a little bit. Yep, so
So go ahead, read that report, and if it refreshes your recollection, please let me know.
yes.
Okay, do you recall what pocket you saw the outline?
Yeah, so it's a hoodie pocket, so it's that like center area of a sweatshirt.
Okay, and were, did you see the initial outline prior to him entering or only when he was exiting?
So when he was exiting, when he was going in, those are the characteristics that we built into it. When he was exiting, both his hands were taken up at that time where he couldn't keep his hands in his pocket. And that's when we saw the hoodie pocket with the outline of the firearm.
Okay,
And we utilize binoculars that are like stabilizing. They have a pretty good zoom on them, so it's not just like to the naked eye, and we're sitting way across the road and we can barely see it. That's why we utilize binoculars.
okay, and are there any other special characteristics of the binoculars, or are they just typical binoculars?
No, they're on the higher end, so they're stabilizing, so you don't get that shake. There's a button we hold on to. So when we're looking through it, it has a magnifying force, a pretty clear view. And then when we hit the button, it takes all shake out. So it's really like a picture screen. So there's no movement whatsoever, so we can see clear as day.
Okay. And then you observed him getting into a vehicle.
Yes.
And when he got into the vehicle, you stated that he failed to stop when leaving the parking lot.
Yes.
And how soon after that did you initiate the traffic stop?
So the minute we saw the violation, we pulled it out from where we were sitting, a little like parking lot almost. We maintained eyes on it all the time, just because it's residential. We're not going to be blowing through the neighborhood at max speed, just because people come out and stuff like that. It's a little different than the highway. So it took us a little bit to catch him just because the route we were taking through the neighborhood. But we ended up stopping him near Auto and Sheldon area.
And you stated that Trooper Harshman was the one that was speaking to Mr. Clark,
Yes.
so you didn't hear any of that conversation?
No, I was on the passenger side.
Okay. Were you wearing any body worn camera at the time?
Yes.
Okay, and it was unactivated?
Yes.
Did Mr. Clark say anything to you regarding an alleged firearm?
No, I don't know after we found the firearm, what he said to Trooper Harshman.
Further questions?
Redirect.
Here, and so when you eventually stopped the vehicle, you said it was by Sheldon and what road?
Auto?
Okay, and that's still in Lansing?
Yes.
Hingham, Michigan.
Yes.
And then when you could see the outline of the firearm in the hoodie pocket, could you actually see the firearm itself?
So because of the clothing, we can't see it 100%, but you can see, like I explained, the grip and where the magazine goes. That was sticking up and kind of leaning forward, and then the slide is at the bottom, so you can see the outline pretty clear.
Okay, and I guess, let me try and say this again, or say a different way. So you could see like the shape of the gun, but could you
Yes.
like the sweatshirt wasn't clear, you couldn't see the actual gun.
Yes, it's just the outline of the gun, and based off of all the training experience that we had, and this is pretty much what our team does. It's just firearm related stuff, violent felony stuff like that. We come into contact with a lot of firearms, so we know the characteristics.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
I just have a follow-up question.
Yes,
You indicated in your training and experience that when he was entering, he had his arm at a 90-degree angle in his pocket.
Yes, so when someone's holding something in their pocket, there's the fist of like kind of a bulge in their pocket, and then their arms bent at the 90-degree angle. The other arm's usually swinging, so it was clear that he was holding something in that pocket at that time.
Okay, so that in and of itself, though, would not have given you reason to believe he was carrying a firearm.
No, that's just kind of one of those characteristics that we look for. I mean, there's a list of things that we go down, like looking around, kind of the movements that they do, stuff like that.
Like
They're
furtive movements, that kind of thing.
Yes,
Was
yes.
he doing any of those furtive movements?
No, not at that time.
Okay, was he
We
looking
just-
around at all?
Not that I recall.
Okay,
I
so
was
you're-
kind of more focused on that pocket.
Gotcha. So your original interaction with him, you noticed his hand was in his pocket. He's holding something. You don't know what it is.
Yes, and that's just something that piques our interest. It's not
Got it.
enough that we usually stop on, unless we just make voluntary contact. If we have nothing else to go on, but once he exited and we saw the outline, it was pretty clear.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else further based on that?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, may Trooper Schaefer be excused?
Yes.
I thank you, Trooper Schaefer. There is a sequestration order, so you can't discuss this with any other witness,
Yes,
okay?
Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
And people would call Trooper Harshman to the stand. Okay.
That's why he was late. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Trooper Hirschman. State your first and last name and then spell both.
Yes, first name is Calvin, Calvin. Last name is Harshman, Harshman.
Okay, you can proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Trooper Harshman. Where do you work?
Michigan State Police, Lansing Post.
And what, excuse me, what is your title?
Trooper.
What are your duties in that role?
I'm assigned to the Secured City Squad, so we work in the city of Lansing in conjunction with Lansing Police Department's Violent Crime Initiative team.
Were you working in that role on November 25th, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you doing?
We were conducting stationary surveillance near the one-stop party store on Cedar Chavez.
And and did you observe anything notable when you were parked there?
Yes, ma'am. We saw an individual walk into the store and walk out of the store, displaying characteristics of an armed subject. And when he came out of the store, we could see the firearm outlined in his hoodie pocket.
Were you able to see the actual firearm or just the outline?
Just the
of it?
outline of it.
And what did that person do after after they left the store?
Got into a vehicle and drove out of the west side of the parking lot onto the road.
Okay. Was there anything notable about that? How you pulled out?
The vehicle did not come to a complete stop when it left the parking lot.
Did you do anything in response to that?
Yes, we drove, caught up to the vehicle a few blocks later and conducted a traffic stop.
Did you speak with the driver of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he give his name?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you ask him any questions?
Yes, I had him exit the vehicle, asked him about firearms, asked him if he had CPL, to which he stated no.
And then what did you do after asking him those questions?
After asking those questions, I placed him in handcuffs, told him that he was being detained because I observed him with a firearm in his hoodie pocket earlier.
And did he respond to that at all? Or respond to you at all?
I do not remember.
And then did you, during this investigation, did you conduct an interview with the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he state anything? Well, I guess I should say. So what was Trooper Schaefer doing during this?
Trooper Schaefer made a passenger side approach, and he is the one who searched the vehicle after I placed Mr. Clark in handcuffs.
And did he find anything in the vehicle?
Yes, he found a digital scale and a firearm.
Did you ask Mr. Clark about the firearm?
I do not believe I asked him afterward, no.
At any point when speaking with Mr. Clark, did he indicate to you that he had knowledge of the firearm?
No, I do not believe so.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Okay, Trooper Hirschman, you stated that you saw an individual go into the party store and leave a party store with what appeared to be an outline of a firearm in the hoodie pocket, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you describe what that outline looked like?
see the rip and slide of firearm, so it's imprinted on the front of the hoodie.
Okay, so kind of like how a firearm would look if I'm pointing my hand, like the grip and then the slide, you could see both parts.
Yes, so the grip would be on the bottom and the slide on the top.
And you continue to watch this individual, and then they got in their vehicle and you conducted a traffic stop a few blocks later.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and did they immediately stop after the traffic stop?
It was a little slow, but yeah, it didn't go much more than a block.
Okay, so he wasn't trying to flee.
No,
And you approached the individual and spoke to him. Did you immediately ask him to get out of the car?
I obtained his license and information and then had him step out of the vehicle, yes.
Okay, and when he stepped out of the vehicle, did you immediately handcuff him?
No, ma'am.
Okay, what happened after you asked him to step out of the vehicle?
I completed a search of his person, and then had him step back to the front of my patrol car so I could ask him about the CPL and everything like that. And once he said he did not have a CPL, then I placed him in handcuffs.
Okay, and when you say a search of his person, can you describe in detail what that meant?
Just checking his pockets, his waistline, using my hands and checking in his pockets and his pockets in his shirt and his pants.
Okay, so patting him down for any weapons?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and did you find anything during that pat down?
No, ma'am.
After that, that you stated that's when you went and put him in handcuffs?
After I talked with him, yes.
Okay, so after the pat down, you then talked to him.
Yes, ma'am.
And what exactly did you ask him about?
I asked him if there's any firearms in the vehicle and I asked him if he had a CPL.
Okay, and did he answer those questions?
Yes, ma'am.
How did he answer those questions?
He stated no to both.
And after those questions, is that when you took him to the front of the vehicle and handcuffed him?
I asked him those questions in front of the vehicle, and then after he answered the questions, I placed him in handcuffs while he's still in front of the vehicle.
Okay, and did you continue to ask him any questions after that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And during this time, was Trooper Schaefer already conducting the search of the vehicle?
No, he did not conduct a search until after I placed him in handcuffs.
Okay, so you placed him in handcuffs and then he began to search the vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
At any point in time, did you read Mr. Clark his Miranda rights?
I do not believe so. No.
Do you know if Mr. Schaefer or Trooper Schaefer did? Excuse me.
I do not know if he did.
After the search was conducted, did you have any other conversations with Mr. Clark?
None that I remember. No.
Did you submit the alleged firearm for testing?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you run the alleged firearm through any databases, excuse me?
Yes, ma'am. I ran it in Lean and NCIC.
Okay, and do you remember how that came back?
It was registered to a different individual in my team.
Okay, so it wasn't
registered to whom?
I'm not sure who it was. It was someone else in my team.
it wasn't Mr. Clark.
That is correct.
Nothing further.
Rita,
Nothing further.
I make Trooper Hirschman be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Trooper Hirschman, there is a sequestration order, so you're not to discuss any portions of your testimony with any other witness, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any additional witnesses for the people?
No, Your Honor.
Is the defense calling witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, you can make argument.
Your Honor. The testimony from Troopers Schaefer and Hirschman have stated to a probable cause standard that they have identified the defendant as the person sitting here today, Amadeus Clark, that they observed both at the One Stop Food Mart and then also later during a traffic stop near Sheldon Street in Lansing, Michigan. That the defendant in this case knowingly carried a pistol either on his person or in his vehicle. The defendant, while they witnessed him at the One Stop Food Mart, they could clearly see the outline of a weapon in his front hoodie pocket, but they could not actually see the pistol itself, therefore making it a concealed weapon that could not be easily seen by someone in ordinary contact with the defendant. After conducting a traffic stop following a traffic violation for failing to stop before pulling out onto a street, they, when conducting a search based on probable cause that there was in fact that the defendant had committed concealed carrying of a weapon on their person, they then in fact found the gun that they had, or they found a gun in the vehicle of the car. To a probable cause standard, the elements of the crime have been met, and the people would ask the court to find this case over discharged.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, I don't believe that the people have met their burden of probable cause in this case. While the troopers testified that they saw what appeared to be an outline of a firearm in a hoodie, they stated also that they did not see him actually carrying a firearm at any point in time. There was a traffic stop that was conducted after a failing to leave the parking lot and failing to come to a complete stop after that. And immediately it seems like after he was patted down, the car was searched at that time. He did state that they found, or he did state that they saw a scale with residue or white residue on it, but there was really nothing else regarding a firearm. He did state that he looked into the center console, found an alleged firearm in this case. But I don't believe at that time that they had probable cause to search the vehicle. There was a traffic stop conducted, but I don't think after the pat down and finding nothing on Mr. Clark's person that there was enough to go inside the car and search the vehicle. So I do believe that the alleged search and the finding of the alleged firearm in the center console would be fruit of the poisonous tree and should be excluded in this case. Thank you.
Any further argument?
Yes, Your Honor. I would say that after they patted down Mr. Clark's person and did not find a weapon at that time, they would have had probable cause to believe that there was in fact a weapon in the vehicle, given that they had, based off of their own observations and their training that they had received with their binoculars, were able to see the outline of the weapon on defendant's person. And then when, after making contact with the police, the defendant no longer had that weapon on his person and they were able to view the vehicle while it was driving, I think that that in and of itself would be that there is probable cause that there was in fact, that weapon would be in that vehicle. So there was in fact probable cause and the search is valid.
Okay, today was the date that was set for preliminary examination. The purpose of the preliminary examination is to require the prosecution to put forth evidence to establish if they have sufficient probable cause to charge you with the crime, and the probable cause that the crime was committed first, and then probable cause to charge you specifically with that crime. And so this is not a trial. They don't need to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden here is more than mere suspicion that a crime was committed. And so that information is flexible. That burden is flexible. It's based on the circumstances presented at today's hearing. We had testimony from both Trooper Schaefer and then Trooper Calvin Harshman from from Michigan State Police. They indicated that on or about November 25th, 2023, that they were both working on the security partnership and that they were doing some surveillance that evening, and that the time in question, they were doing surveillance in the area of the One Stop Party Shop, which is at or near Caesar Chavez Road in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, making venue before the court appropriately. The Trooper Schaefer testified that he and his partner, Trooper Harshman, observed a person that they identified in court today as being Amadeus Clark entering into the party store, and he stated that he observed Mr. Clark with his hand in his pocket at a 90-degree angle, which piqued their attention because based on their training and experience, that gives indication that he's likely holding something. And so the officer, the troopers testified that, particularly Trooper Schaefer testified that they used some kind of stabilizing binoculars to watch as the defendant exited the One Stop Party Shop. He being Trooper Schaefer testified that at that point, the defendant or the subject that they're watching has bags in his hands, no longer a hand in his pocket. And he described observing what he believed the imprint of a firearm, or what he believed based on his training experience to be a firearm, in the front pocket of the sweatshirt that the defendant was wearing. Officer or Trooper Harshman gave testimony consistent with indicating that they believed that they saw an imprint of what they believed to be a handgun in the front pocket upon the defendant exiting the one-stop shop. The defendant gets into the vehicle. He pulls out of the parking lot, doesn't come to a complete stop, and so is stopped by the troopers for failure to stop while exiting a private drive is the presumption that I'm making why they stopped him. Officer or Trooper Harshman is the trooper that made the direct contact with Mr. Clark, at which point he's indicated that he asked or questioned Mr. Clark about whether or not he had a CPL or if there was any firearms in the vehicle, at which point he said that the defendant or the subject responded no to both. Trooper Schaefer testified that while or after Mr. Clark had been patted down and placed into cuffs, that he performed a search of the vehicle, a probable cause search of the vehicle. But he did testify that prior to that, that he observed while looking in the vehicle a blue, I believe he said it was blue and orange scale on the floorboard of the vehicle with some white powdery substance on it, which he believed based on his training and substance indicated some narcotics. And for those reasons in totality, he performed a probable cause search due to, he said, the trace of the firearm and the hoodie and him seeing the scale in plain sight. And so with that being said, the court is satisfied that they did have sufficient probable cause to do a search if he saw a scale with white powdery substance in plain sight, and they've already been concerned based on what they believe to be a firearm in the pocket of the defendant when he's exiting the store. To prove carrying a pistol or concealed weapon in a vehicle at the time of trial, the prosecution would need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a pistol was in the vehicle that the defendant was in. Second, that the defendant knew the pistol was there. Third, that the defendant took part in carrying or keeping the pistol in the vehicle. The officers did a search and they located a pistol in the vehicle. So per their testimony, at least, there is sufficient probable cause as to that element. The second element is that the defendant knew the pistol was there. The court can interpret or draw a conclusion, at least to a probable cause standard, that If in fact what the officers believed to be true was, which was that there was an imprint of a firearm in the defendant's hoodie, that the defendant knew that there was a pistol in the firearm, that is, or a pistol in the vehicle. And also the court can interpret or believe that based to a probable cause standard that he took part in keeping the pistol in the vehicle that he was operating. Therefore, the court is satisfied that there is sufficient probable cause as to each element. And so count one of weapons carrying concealed in a vehicle will be bound over to the circuit court. Bind over date is going to be February 21st. That's the date the circuit court gets the file from the district court. You do not need to appear in circuit court on that date, okay? Your next court date will be a pre-trial in circuit court. Ms. Robinson will be made aware of that date, okay? A bond was set at 2,000 personal recognizance. That will continue. Any additional matters for today's record?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You're all set.